So this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. We're about to get into this tremendous work by Reb Yaakov Kronenberg. He spent a major part, I guess, of his life really working on researching these ideas. I want you to bear in mind that when we speak about, say, a person who's an Aries or Capricorn or something, that we're really talking about their ascendants, because it's very important at the moment you're born, you're set on a track. That track is also harmonized with the cosmos as they're moving along, and that's the idea of this wheel that we're talking about, because the world is round. The orbit of the Earth around the sun is also round, and the concept of this roundness, which is the concept also of cycles, that things keep changing. The world is constantly turning. It doesn't stay static. Our lives are constantly turning as well, coming from very young to very old, and eventually disappearing from this physical world, perhaps being recycled because the wheel goes around and around and around. Now, this Reb Yaakov Kronenberg has done just absolutely tremendous things and brought tremendous ideas. Or let me reiterate again that when he uses the word Aries or Taurus, he's talking about your ascendant, not your sun sign. So the sun sign is very important also, but here we have the beginning of the person's chart always begins with the time that he was born. So let's go over to where Reb Yaakov is, and we're about to pick up some more of the end of a lesson, which started out with the permutations of the name of Hashem into the different tribes, the positions of the tribes, and also the positions of the flags. Each tribe had a flag, and many other things that had to do with the number 12. So also the 12 tribes, of course. But at the end of this lecture that we're working on, there is one more thing that we'd like to talk about before we conclude this series of lectures, and that is going to be the connection between the senses and the different parts of the body. Now, we mentioned this yesterday. Let me see if I don't like the way this book is sitting. So let me see, to be very careful with the camera. So he says, and let me see how we're doing now. So he said, which we haven't focused on until now, so I would like to spend a little bit of time on that. Once more, I'm going to quote from the ancient book called the Sefer Yetzirah. Now, I could tell you that there is an English version of this by Rabbi R.A. Kaplan, and it is available. That is the Sefer Yetzirah. That's the name, just like you said it. And this Rabbi Kaplan, way ahead of his time. I don't know who he was or how he was. Exactly his background is a little mysterious to me, but we know that he was a physicist. And physics has a lot to do with, a person who thinks in that kind of way has a lot to do with what's going on in the study of self. So he says, so these body parts are called the 12 directors of the human body. And the connection between them and the 12 senses, which are also called the 12 Pa'ulot and the 12 actions of the soul, should be discussed before we conclude this series of lectures. And so if he says, and if you take a look closely at the matter, there seemed to be no connection between them at all. Now, one of the things that I'm seeing here is that he has this number 12 in here, and he says there are 12 senses. He says there are all 12 directors of the body. So again, when we have the basic concept of the 12, is because of the permutation of Hashem's name 12 different ways. So, and we saw in the chart at the very beginning of this shir. So let's go on. So I'm going to read a few paragraphs which show us that the point of what we are now interested in learning from the Sefer Yetzirah, which is the book of formation. So this is how it goes. The book of formation is really to give us a glimpse, if possible, to maybe an end stage of what brought us into this world, what brings humanity into the world. He said, and God made the letter He. He made that letter king over speech, Aries in the universe, and the right foot in the soul. So the question becomes, what is the connection between speech and the right foot? This is an obvious question, because speech and the right foot though they are both connected with the sign of Aries. So that's what he says, like theirs, on the other hand, seem to be totally different things. Because a person doesn't speak through his right foot, a person speaks through his mouth. So what's going on here? Why does it say this? Now, once again, I'm not liking the angle of how I got this laid out. It's not really working on the visual. So I'll keep moving around until I can get this where I want it. So let's look at it a little bit more. Then we go on to read, he made the letter Vav. He made the letter Vav, king over thought, Taurus in the universe, and the right kidney in the soul. And again, it's the same idea and the same question. What's a right kidney have to do with the sense of thought? Because it was well known that that thought is a brain function and not a function of the right kidney. And again, we go on, he made the letter Zion, the Z sound, king over motion, Gemini in the universe, and the left foot in the soul. So, okay, that has to be a little bit of connection here, because motion is caused by the feet, or the body, feet, part of the body also, and it includes the left foot. So let's go on. He made the letter Chet, the Chet sound, king over sight. Cancer in the universe and the right hand in the soul. And again, the question becomes, what is the connection between the sense of sight? Let's get this over here. And the right hand. Sight is in the eyes. People see through their eyes and not through their hands. And we can go through all of this. In fact, let us go through it, as long as we're here. He said the rest of it is he made the letter Yud, king over action, Virgo in the universe, and left hand in the soul. And again, I don't know exactly where action is connected, but there is a little bit of connection between action and the hands, because the hands move around, so that is not much of a problem like some of the other ones. So let's go on. He said, this is the Sefer Yesira right now. So, what's he saying? He made the letter Lamed, king of sexual intercourse, Libra in the year, and the gallbladder in the soul. So again, the question becomes, what's the connection between sexual intercourse and the gallbladder? The gallbladder is not really the place where the function of intercourse is found, and let's just go on to the text. He made the letter Nun, king over smell, Scorpio in the universe, and the intestine in the soul. So what does the sense of smell got to do with the intestine? The sense of smell comes and functions from the nose. So he made the letter Samach, king over sleep, Sagittarius in the universe, and the Keva in the soul. And I'm not sure what Keva is exactly. It's an organ, right? I have to stop this for a second, because I don't like the way I got my video set up, and I'll be right with you. So I came back, I set myself up a little bit better. So he's going through various different aspects. He had said some people say that he's talking about the keva. What's the keva? The keva is also called a crop, or some kind of a digestive organ. Some people say it's the pancreas or hormonal thing. There are a number of approaches to the word keva, and we don't know exactly what it is, but in any case, we don't see such a apparent connection between the organ of the keva, which is some digestive organ, and sleep. But in any case, let's go on. He's saying the letter Ayin, king over anger, Capricorn in the universe, and the liver in the soul. So again, what's the connection between the liver and anger? He made the letter Tzaddik, king over taste, Aquarius in the universe, and the Kurkuvine in the soul. The Kurkuvine is basically the stomach. But again, what's the connection between the sense of taste and the stomach? Well, it's a little easier to see that a little bit, because you taste something, it goes into your stomach. And now the last passage, he made the letter Kof, king over laughter, Pisces in the universe, and the spleen in the soul. And so again, the question becomes, what is the connection between the spleen and the sense of laughter? There is no apparent connection here. Moving on. So he says, and so I want to return again to the great rabbi, the Gaon of Vilna, the Vilna Gaon, the genius, which really means the genius of Vilna. So sometimes a person is born who just sees more than everybody else, and his mind works on a different dimension. This is the Vilna Gaon, and see what he has to say about this. And he says the following: the connections between these actions or senses and the limbs are not about the limbs being the vessels of these senses. Now, let's go a little one more time. The connections between, we're talking about these actions or the senses and the limbs are not about the limbs being the vessels of these senses. In other words, the limbs hold something added attribute of the senses within them, because they're not. These limbs are not the vessels through which these actions are performed. Rather, the power of these senses is somehow found in limbs. Now, what's the difference? Somehow inside of the limb is the power of these senses. These limbs somehow have the power through which these actions are performed. So I'm not sure what the difference is yet. So what does it mean? So he says, let me give you an example. He said, for example, that the sense of speech is connected to the right leg, or that it is connected to a leg. It said he walked and spoke, or he walked and had a conversation. It is also said that Pirkei Avos, that's the Ethics of the Fathers, which is a basic fundamental book of the rabbis, that one of many of 2,000 years ago or more, that one who is learning while walking, and then he interrupts his learning due to some beautiful tree he sees and says, how nice is this tree, or how nice is that gathering of wheat or barley, is obligated to death. He deserves the death penalty, because one shouldn't stop himself from speaking the words of the Torah while he is on his way. Now, all of this is very mysterious to me. I really hope that Rabbi YAAKOV is going to straighten this out. And it is also said that if two people are on their way and they don't learn Torah with each other, it's suitable for them that they should be burned. These are very strong statements. Like it is said about some people who walked together and stopped and didn't say anything about the Torah to each other, so they walked together, they stopped, and they didn't say any Torah at all. And they got burned. And in many places in the Zohar it said that you need to light up the way, you need to light up the way. What is this talking about when you walk with Torah? With the fire of the Torah. So what exactly are we talking about? What are these? He's saying this is not literal at all. These are all metaphors. Metaphors for what? So I don't know. Let's see if he's not a rabbi, but everybody got to know he's not a rabbi. So this Reb Yaakov, what he's trying to teach me. So we do see that the power of speech is somehow connected to the leg and has something to do with it. We see that if a person speaks the words of the Torah while walking, then it is good for his legs. And we see that the power of the sense of thought is in the kidneys. As it said, the kidneys give him life. And like it is said, even at night my kidneys will guide me in the proper way. And the night is the time of meditation. The night is the time of thinking. So you see that there is some connection between the kidneys and the sense of thinking. Even though a person thinks with his or her head, there is somehow a connection between thinking and the kidneys. There is some power in the kidneys which is connected to the sense of thinking. Now, I know that this is a Torah idea, that the kidneys are really affect thinking. It's just like he said, it's very difficult to see what's connection. And also the power of sight is in the hand, because the action of seeing is in the hand. So he says most kinds of actions are done with the hand. So I'm not sure where he's going, so let's keep going on. This is like it is said, he saw all of his deeds. In other words, he saw all his deeds, and deeds are dependent on and connected to the person's hands. So again, through action, there is a connection between the sense of seeing and the hands. So it says, let me read back again. This is what he's trying to say. And he saw all of his deeds. So he saw what his hands did. Deeds are dependent and connected to the person's hands because you do things with your hands. So again, through action, there is a connection between the sense of seeing and the hands. Because the hands are the action, and seeing, you can see it. And it is also said, I saw all of their deeds, and similar things are said in different places. And all of these senses are on the right side. Because on the right side, there are things which are more spiritual. And for example, seeing, hearing, thinking are all spiritual actions. Read again. Seeing, hearing, thinking, these are non-physical things. They may be connected to something physical. Those senses are senses of spiritual things. And that's because the right side is more hidden and concealed. It is the secret light. And similarly, the Abba, also the Father who is the Father, is hidden and concealed within the Mother, the Ima, and this is like it is said in the Zohar. Now, all of that could be read several different times. I want to go back on to this place where it says right here. It says, and all of these senses are on the right side. Because on the right side, there are things which are more spiritual. Those are the facts. He says that the right side, the concept of rightness is the strong hand, is the hand of giving. So he says, therefore, but it's also things which are motivational in the spiritual sense. So he gives an example, and he says, for example, seeing, hearing, and thinking are all spiritual actions. That's why we can understand the concept they say, like, I'm thinking, is that we talk about spirit entering a person. Well, in this culture, we don't use the word spirit. But could be a wave of emotions. Those also could be looked at as spirits. These are things which are not physical, but they're going to cause physicality to take place. Those senses are senses of spiritual things. That's because the right side is more hidden. It's inside and concealed. It's the secret light. So it is the light of Chokhmah, which he calls here Abba, the Father. The Father plants within the Mother. But the Mother, everything is manifest in the Mother, not the Father. You wouldn't necessarily know that the Father was inside because he sired the offspring. So he's hidden and concealed within the Mother. The fact that what he put inside of her is hidden. The Ima, also called the Ima, and this is like it said in the Zohar, so he says, let's go on. So this is a good place to stop, and the next year we'll pick it up, and we'll go on from here.